Good morning, everyone. Today's episode is about presenting your work. And what I'm going to say is not only true for presenting your work in a presentation as in a talk, or if you hold a presentation in front of your lab group, it also works for presenting your work in written form, as in a report, a paper, even if you apply for a grant, so if you write a proposal. Because what I think the most important thing is to have a storyline. So think for a moment, what kind of presentations did you see that you thought were like super interesting? For me, those are the presentations that for one tell a story, and second, where the presenter is really enthusiastic about what they are saying. Because if you're really enthusiastic about what you're saying, then you start telling a story, you start having differences in your voice, like in the height of your voice or in the volume of your voice, and that makes it more interesting to listen, rather than somebody just like going through a list and talking about everything at the same time. Everybody fades out within 2 minutes. So if you want to keep it interesting, make sure you tell a story. And we don't all like the same stories, okay? So somebody likes science fiction, somebody likes a romantic story, and somebody likes a thriller. So you need to find the type of story you want to tell that you like telling, because it's your thing, your presentation. Give it your personal note. What is important is that you take the reader or the audience with you throughout the whole process. So there can be twists and turns in a story, but make sure the reader understands that this is a twist now, and it's not like, well, you're contradicting yourself. So be careful with twists and turns in a presentation, because you only have 15 minutes usually, maybe only 10. It's not like a full movie where things can develop within 1.5 hours, okay? So keep it simple. To do that, you need your core messages, and then spin the plot around that. See what else do you want to tell the people so that they can understand better how you came to that conclusion, and literally prepare the path for them to come to the same conclusion. That's the most rewarding thing. Like, if you tell them something and then in the end they come to the same conclusion, that's like, they will feel like, well done me, I've done that right. That's at least the presentations that I like. So be maybe a bit more predictable than in your favorite movie where everything is getting turned upside down in the last 5 minutes. I don't think that's a good plot for a scientific presentation. And once you've got your plot, like 3 or 4 sentences, how you want to introduce it, how you want to get there, and what the actual outcome is, you can then start trying and find the right graphs that work with your story, that support your story, and the right side information, something like what kind of method did I use, or in the beginning, the introduction, well, how did it actually come about that I thought about this topic in the first place. So give the audience a nudge in the right direction. And if you do that, you don't have a lot of cluttered information that you don't really need, because it's really hard when you've done an experiment and yet there were so many things that you thought about and you feel they are all super important, and they were, because if you didn't think about all that, you wouldn't have done a proper experiment. But they're not important for the audience to know. They need to know the plot, and they need to know the things that get them along to that final conclusion, because that's the message that you want to get across, not how much work you've done. Everybody knows you've done a lot of work. And even if it doesn't feel like that and you want to talk about it a lot, that you've done a lot of work, it's not the most interesting part, to be honest, of a presentation. And that also works in a written form. So in a paper or for a chapter, if you have a story that goes through the whole chapter or through the whole paper, makes it much easier to read. Take the reader by the hand, tell them this is what you need to know now, and following on from that, you can now see, oh, this has happened, and now I'm concluding into whatever you want to say in the discussion. And you can even span that through your whole thesis in the end. And the same works if you need to write a proposal, for example, if you want to get funding for some extra project, or for your postdoc, or for something else, or if you apply for a PhD and need to find some more funding. Make sure you've got a story, because that's what gets people hooked. And in the end, it's people deciding about giving you the money or not. So make sure you get them interested. Make sure some of your enthusiasm of that topic is transported. So this is actually something that I would like to see a bit more in presentations, a bit more storytelling. And I hope I could inspire you to try that for your next presentation. And that's all I want to say for today. I'll see you again tomorrow, and until then, keep smiling.